The jury in the State versus Gordon trial is into its 9th hour of deliberations. Gordon is charged with killing a man while boating under the influence on Lake Murray. Officials say in 2019 he was driving a boat when he hit the Kaiser family's pontoon. 68-year-old Stanley Kaiser died. His wife lost a leg and his daughter suffered head injuries. Nick Neville is live on this story for us and has been in the courtroom all day. So Nick, what's the latest?
Cynthia, so it's been a long day. Closing arguments began just after 9:30 this morning, and the case went to the jury at around 1:45 this afternoon. Throughout the evening, the jury has had several questions for the judge, including notably a few hours ago when they asked, if we cannot come to an agreement, then what happens? The judge told jurors that at this point, for procedural reasons, he could not answer that question. The attorneys for both sides agreeing that it was too early to charge the jury, to give the jury a Allen charge, which is intended to be delivered when the jury is deadlocked and encourages them to reach a verdict. Jurors also asked to listen to testimony from a defense witness who specializes in crime scene reconstruction. Once again, prosecutors here are asserting that Gordon was materially and appreciably impaired on that September night 4 years ago tomorrow, noting that they don't have to prove he was drunk and simply that he was too inebriated to be operating that boat. The defense arguing that Gordon was not driving recklessly and this was all just a horrible accident. Deputy Solicitor Dan Goldberg saying in his closing argument that Gordon must be held responsible, describing how the defendant failed multiple field sobriety tests that night and also refused to take a breath and blood test, which the state says is evidence of his guilt. Goldberg even goes so far as to physically show jurors at least 8 separate beers that Gordon admitted to drinking while out on the water that day. Veteran defense attorney Jack Swerling, in his closing argument, says the state didn't meet its burden to prove Gordon's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, suggested that the state was appealing to jurors' sympathies with graphic testimony. The defense also questioning why the state didn't call witnesses like those offered by the defense who testified that Gordon didn't appear drunk that night, among them workers at restaurants on Lake Murray who served them on that evening on September 21st. Take a listen.
Not calling these witnesses and what they would have said, I submit to you are entitled to consider that as to whether or not there's a reasonable doubt.
For the defendant to hang his hat and to put this whole case on he looked fine, he looked okay in the videos, that's not reasonable.
We should note Gordon's blood alcohol content level was not allowed to be admitted as evidence, which means this case could hinge on the testimony from those people who saw and observed Gordon on the night of the incident, as well as on those field sobriety tests that he did take that night. We're going to continue to be here as the jury continues to deliberate again into its 9th hour. Reporting in Columbia, Nick Neville, WIS News 10.
The Kaiser family has dedicated themselves to strengthening South Carolina's boating safety laws after the crash. Their advocacy helped lead to the passing of a new law earlier this year, which requires anyone born after July 1st, 2007 to pass a boater education course from the Department of Natural Resources before operating a vessel.